Hello folks, and welcome to today's video. I'm wrapping up the last 7 books I read in December. I've already got part 1 up, so if you do want to check that out, feel free to do so. But for now, let's just dive into today's video. So the first book was one that was a little bit of a flop for me, unfortunately, and this is Neogenesis, Dawn of the New Mind, which is the first book in the Neogenesis system series. This is by Morg. It's non-fiction, kind of philosophy, waking up your mind, that sort of thing. It basically guides and educates on becoming conscious, and within this theory at least, kind of shows you that life perhaps is more of an illusion, and that we as human beings are more than what we appear on the surface. I really enjoy Morg's YouTube channel and kind of deep diving into the religion, different religions, hidden truths, that kind of thing, the Gnostic Gospels. I find that completely fascinating, so that's why I was intrigued to try out some of his books there. But unfortunately, that's kind of where it left for me. It wasn't super thought-provoking. A lot of things kind of just went over my head. I feel potentially I could have done with more research prior to reading something like this, but that doesn't stop me from enjoying the YouTube channel, because I can just stick that on and take in what I want to take in from it, you know. Moving on, I read the next book in the Wings of Fire series. This was book 3, The Hidden Kingdom by T. Sutherland, and I read this as the graphic novel edition. So this one in specific is about Glory, who is a rain-wing dragon, and she knows that they are not lazy, which is the biggest stereotype that goes around for rain-wing dragons. Everyone kind of looks their nose down at them, but she becomes devastated to find out that in the rainforest, all they do is eat and sleep. They seem to not notice that their friends are going missing and have been going missing for quite some time. Of course, it is down to Glory to get to the bottom of this and re-energize the rainwing populations within the Hidden Forest. I forgot to say, with Neogenesis, I gave that a 2 out of 5 stars, and with the Hidden Kingdom, I gave that a 4.5 out of 5 stars. I wasn't expecting to explore so many lands in this particular story that we did, and although it did feel a little bit slapdash in the graphic novel adaptation version at least, it was still really cool to kind of explore beyond the bounds of just the rainforest. We got quite a lot of hints and nods to what potentially could be expanded in the next 2 books, and I was really grateful for that. I loved Glory finding herself and her strength and kind of making her own destiny. She was the dragon that was kind of dragged in as a kind of spare. She wasn't meant to be in this prophecy, and she has been made to feel that way for sure. So I just love that she kind of came into her own in that way. And I'm also really enjoying the sinister epilogues that we get in this. It feels like a really kind of dramatic 90s TV show, the way it's like, I'll get you next time sort of thing, where you're kind of just getting a glimpse into the villain's lair, you know, and kind of a little brief understanding of what's to come for their crazy antics and shenanigans. So swiftly following on with that, I read the 4th book, which is The Dark Secret, and this is focusing on Starlight. So the mysterious Nightwings, which is the type of dragon that Starlight is, keep everything hidden. Now they've kidnapped their own Dragonet of Destiny, and Starflight is finally meeting the dragons of his tribe, and it might not be as inspiring as he had potentially hoped. This one I also gave a 4.5 out of 5 stars to. I think this is probably one of my favorite books within the series so far. This is especially surprising to me because I had previously found Starflight to be quite a forgettable character and honestly a little bit annoying, but in saying that, that kind of was a good thing, because I feel like he had one of the biggest growths, like character growths within this series, and I really enjoyed seeing that. A really exciting installment with some very challenging dark themes. This series already from the get-go is pretty dark, but this one I feel like honed into some of that, and yeah, it was unsettling, but I think it was well done. I listened to Driving in the Dark, which was a free Darklit Press story that I downloaded a couple of years ago. I think they've since gone out of business, but this is by Jack Hardin. It's a horror short story, and unfortunately I only gave it a 2.5 out of 5 stars. So we're following Riley, who has wrapped up in the office for the Christmas break. He is super excited to get home and propose to his girlfriend, but something on the journey home just doesn't feel right. Honestly, I wasn't expecting the direction that this story took, and it was really sad by the end. It was kind of like a gut punch. It did get me a little bit choked up, but maybe it was a touch too short for me to really get my teeth sunk into it, for it to really have a lasting staying power with me, and for me to really fully care about the main character. Yeah, there wasn't anything really inherently bad about it. It just didn't grab me as much as it could have for the emotion that it had potential for. Finally, I finished the Wings of Fire series, or the main arc of the series anyway, because I think there's a few like spin-off books from it, but that was with The Brightest Night, which is book 5, and I gave this one a 4.5 out of 5 stars. This is following Sunny, who has always taken the prophecy of the Wings of Fire to be very serious, but nobody ever listens to sweet naive Sunny, so it's time to take matters into her own hands in her own way. This had a bit of a slow start for me, and it's one that I put down for a little bit and then didn't pick it up for a little while, but we have a fantastic main character in Sunny, and definitely picked up in pace and plot once I kind of got myself sunk into it. It had such a brilliant conclusion to the whole of this particular arc of the Wings of Fire. I'm so glad that Sunny was able to go off on her own and grow in confidence and action, and really just find her voice, because that was one of the main struggles she had. No one listened to her, and in some respects it's almost like she didn't give herself a chance to really push herself, sometimes leaning on clay to speak what she was trying to say, but yeah, she was able to get there in the end, and I really loved that. It wrapped up the series fantastically, I think. After that, I tried a new book that came into the library, and this is a graphic novel for children called Cassie and the House of Memories by Dean Stewart. So in this story, Cassie loves spending time with her granddad, but he seems to be losing track of things and people, and one day he goes missing, so it's up to Cassie to find him and bring him back. This was an emotional and moving story through the perspective of a grandchild. Anything kind of delving into the conversation of dementia, memory loss, that sort of thing, through the eyes of a child is going to be quite impactful, and this wasn't shy of that at all. It was reflective and touching, and honestly by the end left me with very overwhelming feelings, having gone through similar things, more so as an adult, but with my own grandparents. So yeah, it touched me quite deeply, I think. The illustrations in this were beautiful and loose in style, and I feel like it had a very well chosen colourway. I gave this one a 5 out of 5 stars. And then to wrap up with today's video, I finished A Shade of Blood by Bella Forrest, which is book 2 in the A Shade of Vampire series, which I read near the beginning of the year. I think I reread it for the first time, and I have got a video where I'm reflecting on it 7 years from reading it for the first time. So if you want to check that out, feel free to do it. But yeah, this was my first time actually continuing on with the series outside of just reading the first book. We're following our same main characters, Sophia, Derek and Ben, and in this particular one, without trying to spoil too much of the first book, after months of surviving endless darkness, Sophia is back in her world, back in her life of going to school, getting ready for prom, but she is still finding herself creeping back to thoughts of what is Derek up to, what's going on at the Shade, and honestly yearning for Derek. I thoroughly enjoyed learning about the different vampire lore in this story, how the Shade came to be, the battles and wars that they had in order to garner that semblance of safety for them, where this like harem network came to be and why that was put into place, as well as the Hunters division. That was something that was touched on more that I really enjoyed. We did get some major plot twists in here that I wasn't expecting. However, I'm gonna sound a bit coy here, it was utilized twice for 2 different things. I don't want to go into too much detail, but the first time it was used, it was like a sucker punch, and I was like, wait, what? It was so far out of the realm of possibility that I didn't even think about it. And then the second time it did hit me, but it wasn't as impactful, because I thought, oh my god, that's a bit of a cop-out, they've just done this again now. So it was a little bit like, oh come on, you could have at least waited until the 3rd book to pull that one out, you know. Literally happened chapters ago for a different reason. I know that doesn't make much sense if you've not read it and you don't know what I'm talking about, but yeah, that was a little bit annoying, but also it was still shocking, still captivated me, and I am definitely intrigued in continuing on. But this one I gave a 3 out of 5 stars. Just thought I'd quickly pop on and say that I've actually just finished one more book just on the tail end of New Year's Eve. That was A Deadly Deception by Emily West. This is the second companion book in a Clara Dawson mystery. This is really fun. It was set in sort of just after Prohibition ended, and it's during New Year's Eve. Clara's invited to a hotel party for the weekend to celebrate the new year coming in. She invites Tuck as well, and just kind of introduce him to her wider group of friends. She's not very extroverted in that sense, so most of these friends are her best friend Nina's friends, and she kind of just tags along with them every now and then. They got very different upbringing privileges than she does, being kind of more high society, but nevertheless something disastrous happens and one of the members of the party is found dead. So there's an investigation, there is of course ghostly things happening, there's a lot of character growth, which I love to see, and I also love to see a lot of like relationship growth. Even though this is a companion novel, you do get some characters reappear, and I really enjoyed that wasn't slacked on for the sake of just doing a new like closed case book, if that makes sense. So yeah, I really enjoyed this. I gave it a 3.5 out of 5 stars. And yeah, my friends, that wraps up today's video. Let me know what you've been reading and enjoying, if you had any favourites for December. I thank you very much for watching, and I shall catch you in another video soon. Bye.